it's time to start getting prepared. That means tying traces and thinking about where you're going to fish. Truth be told, I'm happy to use the pre-tied rig straight out the packet. However, some situations don't really suit that approach. You might have a bait that's larger, and in those situations I like to make my own traces so you can space the trebles apart at the distance that you require. What you're going to need for your pike trace is, I like to go with the 28-pound green pike wire here. That's going to be your trace material. We're going to peel a bit of that off of the spool and grab your hook. Now, hook's important. You've got to match it to the size of bait that you're using. These are actually 4s. I use a lot of 6s. For this demonstration, we'll use a 4. So you take your first treble, and we're also going to need a slim crimp. Now, crimps are really essential for tying strong, resilient traces. And you're going to take one of those out of the packet, and the first thing you need to do is slide that onto the green wire like so. Then we're going to go through the eye of the treble hook, and you're going to fold it back. You're going to thread it back through the crimp. You can crimp it like that, but what I like to do is pull it down, fold the trace wire back round and go through the crimp yet again. That's going to create a really strong connection when you crimp it down. It's a little bit fiddly this, but you're going to end up with 2 loops either side of the crimp. And what you need to do is you're going to pull that nice and tight, and as you can see, so you've got 2 small loops either side of the crimp. Now that is going to be extremely strong. The next step is to get your crimping tool like so. Now these are large crimps. You can see you have the small section there and the medium and large. So make sure you put it into the right slot, because if you put it in the small, you're going to compress it too much and that's going to weaken it. Get it into the crimping tool, making sure it's the right size. Now compress it down, just one squeeze, and there you go. That's not coming off. So now that's on, you're going to trim, take your snippers, you're going to just trim off at the end there, tidy everything up, and that's your first treble attached. Now you're going to strip off enough trace to your desired length. I like to use, it's about 60 centimeters I like to go with, but snip off a bit more than you need, so you've got some, you've got some material to play with. Now in the next step, we're going to grab a crimping sleeve. These ones are red, give it a bit of colour. We all know that pike like red bait flags and bits like that, whatever you can do to help. But we're going to slide that sleeve all the way over the treble like so, so it's tidying it all up like that. That's the first step of the trace done. So next is the second treble. There's a number of ways you can do this. I've always been about simplicity, so I do it the most simple way, and which is the easiest. So this isn't the only way of doing it. This is the way I do it, and I have done for years. So we grab another treble through the eye, slide it down towards the other one. Now this is where you need to make sure that the spacing is at your desired distance, because different baits obviously going to require different spacing. You might have a large mackerel bait, so you're going to want it further apart. But for this, we'll put it about there. But as I said, it's your own preference. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the trace wire and we're going to flick it over the back of one of the hooks on the treble. And then you're going to whip a knotless knot. I like to do about 5 or 6 whips. And then you're going to hold that in place. You're going to go back through the eye of the hook and then pull that tight. Next stage is to put another sleeve on. So it's going to neaten up the rig. It's going to cover the knotless knot at the shank of the hook. So that's the second sleeve in place over the knotless knot, tidies everything up. So the final step of the process is to get another crimp, slide that onto the opposite end of your trace, followed by a swivel, using a size 9 barrel swivel here. And then as before, just like with the first treble, we're going to thread that back through the crimp, like so, pull that tight. And then we're going to go back through again, creating those 2 loops that I mentioned when we tied the first treble. That's going to be super strong. Pull that tight and you can see the 2 loops there closing. Just want to leave little loops, and that right there absolutely perfect. Crimping tool out again, these are large crimps, so make sure you put it into the large crimp section and that it's square. Press down, snip, not too close, but and there you have your finished pipe trace.